their children to school, and it's a very sad condition. It doesn't take you very long to drive through an Indian community and see all these wonderful resources, but seeing our communities living in dire poverty. And then after you find out, and what we found out through this lawsuit, is the fact that, well, the government was just using our money to reduce the national debt because the inept Department of Interior was not sending information to the Treasury so that they could draw the checks to the right people. So the third part of the case is what we just finished up in June. The trial that we just finished up is, which is basically the monetary recovery. Okay, as a result of, since the accounting is impossible, what is owed individual Indians?
Mother Jones did a great piece and focused on, well, among the unnamed plaintiffs, James Mad Dog Kennerly. Tell us more about him.
Well, James Mad Dog Kennerly is certainly a good person that has been really, I guess, the government's behavior toward Mad Dog is the fact that, you know, this man has oil wells. You know, him and his family, he has 2 other sisters, and they have oil wells that have been pumping forever. And he continues to try to find out what is the production on my oil coming out of the ground. Why am I being paid so little amount of money? Well, the government says, you know, well, you know, your oil isn't that worth that much money, and there's always these excuses. James was raised in an orphanage, and he lives in a small, little, modest home. He doesn't have a car. He's, you know, and in any other situation, James would probably be living in a mansion if the government had done its duty as a trustee. But, you know, there are certainly just every other person has the same story to tell throughout the entire nation. Is the government, it would just be like if you had oil wells on your land, Amy, if you had oil wells and you had timber and you were collecting money and, you know, but somehow that money wasn't coming to you and you knew it. I mean, you would have proper channels to probably get, you know, justice. But in our situation, it's the United States government that is managing our money, managing the money that comes from oil, our timber, our agricultural lands. They are the trustee and they are managing it. And they could care less about the recipients because nobody has held them to the standards that they need to be held to. They are a trustee, my God, and to be in litigation against the United States government for 12 years is almost in a crime itself. Is, you know, why in the world do you have to fight the United States government for accountability? And I mean, let me tell you, every time you go in a courtroom, I don't know how many government attorneys that we have in that courtroom. And it's been, you know, the behavior of the United States government against the poorest people in this country is just unbelievable. And why is this happening? And many times through this lawsuit, through 12 years, I would think, where are the American people? Why aren't they helping us? Why aren't they assisting us? You know, why are we letting the United States government behave like this? This is our money. It's no different than you having your money in your bank, not keeping track of your money, in fact, letting people steal it. It's like having a bank with the doors open 24 hours and the vault door open and anybody walking by could come in and take whatever they want to, because that's how the government manages our trust assets, such as money, on the honor system. And all these accounting reports, the Inspector General just came out with a report last week, and in his audit report said, you know, there's all this corruption going on with the Office of the Special Trustee. There are people that are on the take, and nobody does anything. You know, I think I've testified before Congress about, I don't know, I want to say about 15 times. And Congress gets all excited for about 5 or 10 minutes during the hearing, and then it goes away and nothing happens.
Elouise Cobell, could you talk about retaliation, both against those who filed affidavits and against you, naming you on a government website so that Native Americans would blame you when they didn't get, for example, royalty checks?
Well, it's just become a common thread throughout the government offices, is because if something goes wrong with anything, if there's thunder and lightning, it's because of the Cobell lawsuit. And it's very hard sometimes, but I think that individual Indian people now are much aware that they cannot believe the government and they can't trust the government. But early on in the lawsuit, it was very difficult. The government, the judge in our case at that particular time, shut down the entire security system, the IT security system of the Department of Interior, just because of the vulnerability of hackers, that anybody, there was no firewalls, anybody could hack into the system, so the government cut it down. So the way, I mean, the judge shut it down, but the way they got back at us, the Department of Interior, instead of just doing everything that they could to fix the systems, they basically just stopped all the payments to individual Indian people. And it was right before Christmas, as it was in December. And of course, people needed their money very badly, the ones that are getting their checks. I mean, we never know if it's the right amount because we never have had a proper accounting. But the money that was trickling to them just stopped. And when they called and asked the government agencies, where's our money? Well, they said, call Elouise Cobell because it's her